Hello there, everybody. This is Dax. I hope that life is treating you very well right now. As usual, I'm out for a walk. What's unusual is that this time I'm actually out here during the daytime. Very rare. It's about 4 in the afternoon, I think. So, it's a clear blue, highly saturated sky, high saturation. I'm talking about color here, so it's a very bright blue. So you'll probably be hearing a lot more going on in the background than usual. I'm actually approaching a man mowing his yard right now. Sprinklers going off, watering the lawn. I do find it very strange, this fascination we have with grass. Lawn grass. I find it interesting that, as far as nature's concerned, what we consider to be a beautiful lawn is a desolate wasteland. Because the grass we use, it can't be used by anyone or anything. And anything that is useful to nature we consider to be a weed, and so we tear it out. Kind of funny. A prime example of how we view the world versus the way it actually is. Hello there. It is a gorgeous day out. It's just that right time of year. Summer has just ended. Winter hasn't kicked in yet. The weather is just perfect. And I look up just in time to see a branch fall from a tree. Interesting timing there. Listening to this recording, one might be led to believe that branches are constantly falling around here, like that's all they do. But after the winter, you've got to go through and, well, you don't have to, but people do go through and clean things up. Part of our subconscious need to alleviate our fears by controlling our surroundings. It's probably the real reason why we have such a love of lawn grass that we do. Control your surroundings. That was a pleasant breeze. Hello there. Breeze probably sounded horrible in the microphone, but it felt good. We human beings were basically frightened creatures. Frightened creatures very rarely try to overcome their fear. They just try to compensate for their fear by seizing control. It's a description of pretty much every problem we've ever had right there. Yes, this truly is a beautiful world that we live on. I wish that we as a species would honor the world a lot more than we do. But like I said, we're basically afraid. And when you're afraid, your main goal is usually to seize control. And that's what we do. We seize control, all the while being completely oblivious to the fact that we're actually losing control in our efforts to do so. An interesting anomaly. Approaching those same couple of houses that I've walked by a few times before. I don't know the people who live there, but I wonder whether or not they are firm believers in fairy tale folklore. They just do little things that makes me wonder. Yeah. Little bitty houses in their yard, and ring of rocks around the trees. Saw a couple of mushrooms sprouting in the yard. I need to learn more about mushrooms. And I'm not talking about in a Terence McKenna sort of way. I'm not talking about getting high on them. Hello there. I mean like the actual life cycles of the mushrooms themselves. I always find it fascinating. They never seem to exist longer than a few hours. It's like they have a one-day lifespan or something. They sprout up, they open beautifully, they look all fresh and alive. You walk by the same spot the next day, and it's like they were never there. There's going to be a lot of traffic in this recording. I may or may not edit it out. Comes a truck transporting a drivable lawnmower, a rideable mower. And there went another one. That one without the trailer, of course. Nice wide open field here to my left. There's usually a bunch of horses out in it, a herd. But they're not there right now. Curious as to why not. Come to think of it though, I almost always see horses in this field at night, not during the day. So whether they're moving or their owner is moving them, who knows? Here we are in that awkward position where cars are approaching me from both directions as I walk down the road. Up ahead, there's a child in a wagon being pulled by one of his parents, doing the helmet thing and everything. You know, you've got to be safe while doing wagon pulling. Apparently, I'm not very talkative right now, so I apologize for all of the empty spaces in the speech. Hey, a wasp. That was a yellow jacket. Flew right by me. I suspect that wasp might actually be one of my totem animals. I was stung by wasps on 2 separate occasions when I was younger. Then I decided that I would, something like that happens. Something hits you with a lot of pain. You've got a choice on how to handle it. You can either hate it and fear it, or you can pay attention to it and you can learn from it. And I made the decision to learn from the wasps. And I have never been stung by them since. Hello there, how are you? And there's a dog trotting down the center of the road. Whoa, look! Oh. There. Little doggy almost got hit. So as I was saying, when I was a child, I got stung by a wasp on 2 separate occasions. At the time, I was just angry about it, but in retrospect, I think that was wasp spirit trying to get my attention, because the instant I decided to pay attention, I have not been stung by them since. I certainly hope that does not turn out to be prophetic, and that or prophetic, rather, and that I've got another stinging coming at me from just around the corner. But so far, it's been probably about 25 years since I've ever been stung by a wasp. It's almost like that was the wasp just trying to get my attention, and now that I'm paying wasp attention, they are now teaching me things, because I have learned a lot from Wasp. Wasp definitely embodies a divine warrior feminine energy. You meet a woman who's both feminine and a fighter, and you're dealing with Wasp energy there. And I have learned a lot from Wasp. Another animal that I had something happen with in my life has been the common house dog. When I was a small child, our entire family, we were hanging out in a neighbor's yard. And I was out playing in the yard, kind of minding my own business. I was a very introverted child. Spent a lot of time just wandering around the yard thinking about stuff, trying to figure out the universe around me. Basically, I did just what I'm doing right now. Just hanging out and thinking. But yeah, I was hanging out in the front yard while my parents were on the porch talking to the neighbor. And one of their neighbors happened to open the front door, and a big black dog. I have no idea what breed they were or even how big they actually were. I was like 4 years old at the time, so you don't have to be very big for a 4-year-old to think it's big. But a big black dog just tore out that front door. Had his sights on me before he even passed through the doorway. Tore across that yard and bit me right on the ass. Took me a very long time to start liking dogs after that. But one day, and this was only a few years ago, I was thinking back to that incident. Once again, this whole thought track that I'm on is dealing with animal totems and types of animals communicating with us in order to teach us something. So just here, maybe 2 years ago, I was out on one of my walks, and I was thinking about this incident, and I decided to forgive Dog Spirit. I forgave Dog Spirit for that time when I was 4 years old and got bitten on the ass. And the instant I did that, this black Doberman just comes wandering out of a shadow right next to me. If it wasn't by design, then it was the freakiest coincidence you could ever imagine. That weird noise you're hearing, there are a couple of little girls in a backyard poking their heads up and laughing at me from over a wooden fence. But anyway, either by design or the weirdest coincidence I've ever seen in my life, I decided to forgive Dog Spirit for the way I was attacked as a small child. And just then a big black Doberman just comes wandering out of the shadows right up to me. He opens his mouth as if he's going to bite my hand, and instead of biting it, he just slobbers all over it, happily starts prancing in a circle around me. Hello there, how are you? I'm doing very well, thank you. Wish you the best. Thank you. So this big black dog just starts happily prancing around in circles around me. And that was a pretty big shift in the way I basically just view dogs. Now once again, when you're attacked like that as a small child, it is very difficult to like them. And for me, I took this whole experience as part of a character arc in my life, a story arc. bitten as a small child, harbored resentment for most of my life. One day I decide to just let it all go and forgive. And another big black dog shows up out of nowhere. It's kind of a hi, thank you. Thank you for forgiveness. I love you. That was the vibe of the whole experience. I mean, there was also a sense to it that it was another test. You know, because that Doberman came right at me, right at my hand. You know, he could have easily latched on and bitten me again, but instead he just like slobbered out my hand, which was icky, but it was also friendly. And he just happily pranced around me. Like, hi, I love you. My life has a lot of experiences like that. You know, there's a saying, if something strange happens once, it's an interesting occurrence. If it happens twice, it's a coincidence. If it happens 3 or more times, then there's something profound happening and you'd better start paying attention. And that kind of thing happens quite often. Sometimes you have to just look at possible coincidences and say, it's way too coincidental that all these coincidences are happening. There's something more profound here. There's something more profound here. Animal spirit is talking to me. Dog spirit is talking to me. We've mended that relationship. As you probably guessed, I'm more of a cat person. I was never mauled as a child by a cat, although I suppose it could have happened. I had an incident when I was about 14 years old where I was riding my bike along the road that I lived on and came face to face with a mountain lion. A couple of people coming here, so I'll wait to continue this until we've passed. Hello, awesome people. How are you?
We're good. You?
Better than I should be.
Well, that's good.
Wish you two the very best.
You too.
So yeah, I had an incident when I was about 14 years old. I don't remember the exact age. I was in high school at the time. But I would go out riding my bike all the time. And one day I was out riding my bike, and I came face to face with a giant, once again, everything's relative, but there was a mountain lion chilling right off the road, and she came wandering into the road just as I was crossing by, and we stopped. We stopped and we stared each other right in the eye. I can honestly say I wasn't afraid of the lion, but it wasn't out of any kind of courage. It was one of those things where it just sort of happened, you know. You don't really have time to panic when it just kind of springs on you like that. But we just sat there, me on my bike in the middle of the road, her standing in the middle of the road, staring me down. And we were just trying to determine, what next? Yep, I'm here, you're there, what now? And I really think part of it on her part is that she was trying to determine if I was food. Food has a certain way of behaving. If you're threatened and you turn around and you try to run away, you're acting like food. And I didn't do that. I just sat on my bike staring at her because I couldn't think of anything else to do. Once again, it wasn't courage. It was just, well, hell, what now? After a couple of minutes of this, and it felt like an eternity, who knows how long it actually was, but it felt like we were standing there staring at each other in the roadway for a long time. And finally, I could see her, like, shrug her shoulders. Never seen that kind of behavior from an animal before, but she shrugged her shoulders. And then just decided to walk on across the road. Like, okay, this guy's not acting like food. I'm not going to attack him. And then she went on her way. So I could have easily been mauled by a cat. But yeah, I like cats. I like dogs too. I like them both for different reasons. One of the things that I like most about cats is the very thing that a lot of people don't like about them. Hey there. What a lot of people don't like about cats is that cats just don't seem to need us. We're human beings. We want to be wanted, damn it. We need to be needed. Cats don't play that game. Cats are just like, I'm here, you're there, you're cool, I'm cool, we're both cool, let's go mind our own business. Yeah, sure, you want to pay me affection. Okay, I'll take that. And then I'll just go do whatever it is that I want to do. And I like that about cats. I like dogs too, especially now that I've decided to forgive them. Dogs are sweet. They're affectionate. They're also pretty needy, though. Cats aren't needy. Neither am I. I think that's why we get along. I mean, sure, I'll have the occasional bout of loneliness, just like anybody else. Ultimately, I'm the source of my own happiness. You know, I'm going to be happy as long as I choose to be. And that's how life works. Decided to turn around and head back to the house now. So this might be the end of this video. Then again, I might just keep recording until I get back to the house. We'll see what happens. It's a pretty purple bike. I find it interesting how people respond to the color purple. Yeah. Purple is like the pink for women who are afraid of being girly. I've just noticed that a lot. Met a lot of women. Wonderful women, beautiful women, fascinating women. That their favorite color is purple. But the reason their favorite color is purple is not because they actually love purple itself. It's because they actually love the color pink, but they're in the closet about it. They're like, I don't want to be all girly. I don't want to be pink and frilly, so my favorite color is purple. Just kind of strikes me as funny. Purple is a beautiful color. Purple is a color to admire in its own right. I've got another friend that his response to the color purple is just as funny. Hello, how are you? But yeah, his response to the color is just as funny. This particular person is rather, how shall we say, insecure about his place in the world. Insecure in a great many ways, too. He's insecure about his financial situation. You know, he was born under an earth sign, so he's very much into acquiring material possession, nice house, nice car. Just like all signs, though, there are healthy and unhealthy versions of the signs of the zodiac, and if you're healthy about materialism, then you've just got a nice comfy house. pleasant car that runs. Basically just a nice home for your family. That's the healthy route. The unhealthy route, though, is when you become possessive over it and you give it value. My house is important, and I've got this house for the purpose of impressing people. My car is important, and I've got it for the purpose of impressing people. That's the unhealthy side of that sign that he was born under. And he's kind of like that about a great many things. Very insecure. But yeah, the color purple. He is very insecure about his sexuality. And I'm not saying that he's a closeted homosexual, because I don't think he is. I think that he is a straight guy. He is just scared to death of having anybody question that. And so when it comes to colors like pink and purple, well, it's like he's afraid of them. He's scared of those colors. Don't associate me with the color purple. Someone might think I'm girly. It's really the same thing that tomboyish women do. Don't associate me with that color. I'm not girly. Don't make that connection. But the thing is, what makes the whole thing funny is he takes it to the next step and expects me to be bothered by it too. You know, I actually like the color pink. Pink is a pretty color. Who gives a fuck that it's associated with little girls? Pink is a beautiful color. I'm not saying I want to paint my house pink, but you know, some pink shirts are cool. Black and pink is a very nice color combination. Have you guys ever seen something that was combined like really dark black and really bright, vibrant pink? It looks beautiful, especially if there's some kind of light show involved. You know, like if the pink is neon and glowing. That is fucking beautiful. People get too caught up in their gender roles as far as I'm concerned. Just be happy with who you are. Be comfortable with who you are. And I realize that that's easier said than done. The whole thing's pretty funny. People would be scared of a color because it's associated with being girly. You know what I'd like to see? I would like to see our entire species go a little more girly. We are way too masculine, and not the healthy kind. You know, you listen to a lot of people, and they'll talk about masculine versus feminine energy, and how we need to become more feminine. Or, well, no, that's not the argument they make. They make the argument that our species needs to become feminine. No, we don't need to become feminine. We need to become balanced. But you see, there are two accesses. Accesses, I guess would be the proper word. There are two accesses to the phenomenon. You don't just have masculine and feminine. You have healthy and unhealthy. And it's the healthy and unhealthy part what the species needs to change. Whether we stay masculine or go completely feminine will not change things if we stay in the negative. Because that's where I see our species, is we are negative masculine. You know, you look at the four corners. Positive masculine, negative feminine, and positive feminine. Well, you go to the positive masculine. Someone who is strong in positive masculine energy, they are a protector, a guardian, a defender of the weak, a true superhero. Someone who is positive masculine will always protect those who cannot protect themselves. In other words, they become a father. But then you've got the negative masculine, which is basically where our species is at. Negative masculine energy turns you into a tyrant, a conqueror, someone who wages war and seizes control, kind of like the lawn thing that we were talking about earlier. We're afraid of our surroundings, so we try to control them. That's negative masculine thinking. Negative feminine thinking, you wind up with a harlot, a seductress, someone who uses her sexuality to manipulate people. She's still a controller. You know, a negative female is still control issue based. It's just instead of being an outright conqueror, she's more of a sneaky manipulator. And that's the problem with what I hear a lot of people saying, that we need to switch over to feminine energy, thinking that will solve the problem. Well, no, it will just create a different negative society. It's the other pole, the positive to negative, that we need to flip. Hi there. Sweet lady just drove by with a big smile on her face. But then you've got the positive feminine. The positive feminine is a nurturer. She will build the strength of the family. She will unite us all together. You know, once again, positive masculine is a great protector, a great father. Positive feminine is a nurturer, a uniter, a great mother. So that's the pole that we need to switch. I'm really not concerned as to whether we stay masculine or flip over to feminine. If I had a choice, I'd say we should go into a state of balance, which is what I meant when I said I'd like to see our race go a little more girly. I'd like us to be balanced. You know, stop being afraid of our own feminine energy and be balanced. But the pole I really want to see us flip is the positive-negative one. I don't care if we're a protector or a nurturer. I just don't want us to be a conqueror or a manipulator. It's the positive to negative. Feminine energy is not more positive than masculine. They're both on the same level as far as that goes. There's another attribute to masculine versus feminine energy, which I think is interesting. It also needs to be addressed. Just as important, but not as much in an obvious manner. Please forgive my poor speech. But another difference between masculine and feminine energy. Masculine thinking deals a lot with small parts, components, separate little boxes of thought. Whereas feminine thinking seems to be more overall, more the big picture. So masculine versus feminine thinking is small picture thinking versus big picture thinking. And to describe what I'm talking about here, I like to use the example of a car. If you look at a car, and people do tend to be better at being balanced in these two, but we need to be better at it. We need to improve our balance. But a masculine thinker, once again, I am not talking about men or women. I am talking about masculine energy. A masculine thinker will look at a car and see a bunch of parts. A masculine thinker will see doors, a frame, an engine, transmission, windows, seats, wheels, headlights, various electronic components. That's how a masculine thinker sees things. The advantage of masculine thinking is that it allows you to go in and take a really good look at a small part. The downside to small picture masculine thinking is that you're oftentimes in denial that the different parts have to actually work together to get the job done. They're all interconnected. Masculine thinking usually fails to remember that. They might intellectually acknowledge that it's the case, but you don't see any evidence that they actually understand it in the ideas that they're coming up with. Hello! Got another truck coming, I'll let them pass. Now, feminine thinking, on the other hand, and once again, I am not talking about men versus women, I am talking about the energy that the individual is guided by. A feminine thinker will see the whole car and not see any of the parts. The advantage to looking at the world that way is that you see the big picture. You can see that this is the thing, what that thing does. A car is a device that moves you around. That's what a feminine thinker will look at a car and see. The disadvantage to that is that a feminine thinker cannot break down the car into separate components and say this part is for this and that part is for that. As a species, we have delved way too far into masculine energy, masculine thinking. And you can see it, or rather I can see it most profoundly in the environmentalism issue. Because we are such masculine thinkers, we will divide the issue of the environment into all these little components. And then we convince ourselves that the components do not affect each other. You know, as a species, we have decided that what happens off the coast of New Jersey will not cause any harm off the coast of Japan. We have decided that fracking oil wells in Oklahoma will not wake up that fault line and start causing earthquakes, which is happening. We're seeing that happen right now. The fault line running right through the center of the country is waking up, largely because of what we're doing. But we have convinced ourselves that the two are unrelated. And so basically what's happening right now is reality is slapping people in the face. And we're being forced to look at this issue. But that's kind of our attitude in general. We say that the energy industry is the energy industry, and the environment is the environment, and that the energy industry can do whatever it wants and it won't harm our race. And anyone who says otherwise is a liberal conspiracy theorist. We need to go into balance with our masculine versus feminine thinking. And I want to emphasize balance. We need balance. Yeah. We don't want to shift completely into feminine thinking, because then we will lose our ability to see the individual components. But we need to move away from full throttle masculine thinking so that we can see that the individual components we can see actually do affect each other. The law of cause and effect, consequences for your actions. We need to be in a place where we realize the truth of cause and effect. We're in denial about cause and effect. We really are. People talk about how much they hate politicians, but it's the people who put them there, cause and effect. People go around treating other people like shit, and then they're surprised when they're treated like shit back. Law of cause and effect. The components are interrelated. They affect each other. We need balance. One of the interesting things that I've noticed about our species is that even the most feminine of women in our race are at best balanced. Most of our women are not actually women, they're men with boobs. We are that masculine a species. We don't seem to notice that for logical reasons. Very logically, it's difficult to see where you're actually at if you do not have something else to compare it to. And we as human beings, hey dogs, we don't actually see anybody that we can compare ourselves to. So we don't realize just how out of whack with the masculinity we are. It is kind of funny seeing the feminism movement, which, yeah, there's a difference between equality and this thing that feminism is after. What feminism is after and what they say they're after are two different things. I used to be very, very pro-feminist movement, but every time they sent me an email or updated some information, there was always a lot of anti-male rhetoric in it. Not saying that we don't deserve a lot of what's being said in there, but it's not a solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is balance. The solution to the problem is men and women being equal. It is not about role reversal. Role reversal will not solve the problem. And also, I don't know, any ladies out there, you might chime in with your point of view on this. I'd like to hear it. Would you really be happy with your life if the only way to be an equal would be if you have to live and think like a man? And this is an honest question. I'm not trying to troll. I'm not trying to pick a fight. It's an honest question. Because men and women, on average, we have very different personalities. There are outliers on both sides. But on average, men and women have different personalities. So do you actually believe, once again, honest question here, do you actually believe that you would be happy with your life if the only way to achieve equality was to be like a man? If the only way to have equality is to have sex like a man, to work like a man? Because I'll tell you what, in my opinion, the man's role as primary financial caregiver fucking sucks. I hate the workplace that we have created for ourselves. Maybe you'd be happier doing that. If you were, well, hey, it would work for me. Because if women took over the suck-ass job, I'd gladly be a stay-at-home dad. Because I like kids. Hate the workplace. Anyway, not trolling, not trying to create an argument, so keep your comments civil. If you want to discuss, then discuss, but don't argue. Because none of us actually know what's going on. But yeah, in general, I tend to think that given a choice between family caregiver or financial provider, family caregiver is the better job. That's just my viewpoint. Not something to argue about or rail against. It's just simply my point of view. A person's opinion is always valid as long as they've actually spent time thinking about it. I've spent enough time in corporate America to know that I never want to go back. My time spent in corporate America made me hate the man in the mirror. After a few years of that shit, I did not like myself at all. I had to quit that job. Well, quit. Let's be honest. I was asked to resign. And for very good reason. I hated myself and my job so much that I sucked at it. I did really well the first few years. But then it grated on me. It wore me out. It tore me down, turned me into a person I did not like. And so they asked me to resign, and I very happily did. And I've never wanted to go back to anything even remotely like that. Now, I'm not saying that women have it easy, far from it. Women have it very rough, especially in the way that society looks at you guys. Women are basically viewed in one of two ways. She's either a sex object, or she's a bitch. Not fair at all. That's basically how society views you. And I'm sorry for that. But men get a lot of respect that we don't deserve. I mean, what do men do? Well, let's just take a quick look at that. Let's go prehistoric. Prehistoric times. What was the woman's job? She held the clan together. She was in charge of raising the children. The guys basically had two jobs. Sperm donors and go out and kill food. And that's all the men did. The women were in charge. I find it very strange that our society has somehow managed to flip that. Because the way things are today seems very artificial to me. It's like the only reason things are the way they are is because men have gone way out of our way to overturn the natural order of things. Once again, I'm just discussing my opinion here. Not wanting to start any fights. If you're really upset by anything I have to say, then hit the fucking stop button and go to someone else's channel. But yeah, the way I see it, the natural order of things is it's the person in charge of the family who's really in charge. And it's the woman who's naturally in charge of the family. She gives birth, she raises the children, she makes certain that the family gets along well with the neighbors, so that the neighbors will work together as a unified clan. And the man goes, "Are you hungry? Okay, I'll go out and get something." That's just how I view it. And I see modern day society as kind of men have unnaturally usurped control. Which in a way makes sense that it would happen because once again it's masculine thinking what makes people want to conquer and control. Conquer and control your surroundings so that you can feel safe. Only makes sense that there would have been a revolution at some point in our history, justified or otherwise, where the power-hungry men would seize control from the women who are actually running things. I do wonder when and if that actually happened. Would have obviously had to have been back in prehistory. Not necessarily, though. In terms of gods and goddesses, the idea of the most powerful gods being male are actually a recent phenomenon. Only a few thousand years old. Just an interesting thought. It is amazing just how blue that sky is. Couple of birds of prey of some kind up there circling above. My assumption is that they're hawks. They don't have to be. Well, I'm going to end this video here. I've provided the trolls with plenty of troll feed. I love you guys. I wish you all the very best. And remember, we don't have to agree with each other to get along. We just need to respect each other. Have yourselves a very nice day. Thank you. Thank you for your time.